The world is ruled by dozens of authoritarian, autocratic, some of them charismatic narcissists, and in a minority of cases, psychopaths. This is a state of affairs nowadays. It's very difficult to find a country where the leader is institutional or Weberian, bureaucratic, technocratic leader. It's very difficult to find. Wherever you look, Turkey, Israel, India, United States, you name it. What you see are charismatic demagogues, populist leaders, and they operate via cults. They create a personality cult. None of this is new, of course. The cult mind, the hive mind, has been documented for for more than 100 years, actually, starting maybe with Le Bon's famous book. None of this is new, but today I would like to inject a few talking points into the situation and try to decode the mind of the populist, the mind of the cult, not the mind of the leader. I've dealt with the mind of the leaders, of such leaders, the minds of such leaders in other videos. Today I would like to discuss their followers. I've done it before, but I would like to add a few insights. So first of all these cults, I think, have four things in common. Nihilism is an organizing principle. These cults are focused on destruction as an exalted, revered aspiration and goal. Not construction, but destruction. The idea is that if you destroy things, you're setting the ground for renewal, for rejuvenation, and that destroying things is a noble, not a savage pursuit, and that the phase of destruction should be extended, extensive, intensive, all-pervasive, ubiquitous, and so on. It's not minor destruction, but it's a total demolition of the system. Nothing left behind, scorched earth, all the bridges burned. This is the nihilistic philosophy of populist regimes, ochlocracies, mob rules, and so on. The second principle is improvisation and gut management, management by one's gut, by one's intuition, albeit chaotic, are far preferable to bureaucracy and planning, because bureaucracy and planning are soulless, they are impersonal, they are, in this sense, inhuman, whereas management via one's hunches and intuitions, and perhaps even messages from God, if one is deranged enough, this kind of management is, at the very least, more human. It has a human face. So there's a preference for knee-jerk, off-the-cuff reactivity rather than tedious, interminable sessions of planning, weighing all the angles and aspects, and risk aversion. The third element, I think, in all populist religions, because religions they're cults, is a perception of cosmic historic mission in which all the members of the cult are participants. This endows them with a sense of agency. They are change agents and they reassert control over their lives. This cosmic historic mission is both an organizing principle, in the sense that it dictates goals and so on, and also a hermeneutic, explanatory principle. It imbues life with meaning and makes sense of things. The last element in populist regimes is opposition, defiance, antagonism, seeking conflict, not conflict aversion. And it's an adversarial system where the adherents, the fans, the base, whatever you want to call them, oppose anything and everything that the elites support. And they oppose what the elites support just because the elites are in support of it. The elites' support of anything guarantees its rejection by the masses within the cult. This, of course, has a lot to do with malignant egalitarianism and so on. I'll discuss it in a minute. Now, intellectuals like me hold the masses in contempt. Now, very few intellectuals would admit to it. They would pretend that they love the people, they want to help the people, they want to improve the people's lot, they're altruistic and charitable and compassionate and empathic and you name it. This is pro-social narcissism. The overwhelming vast majority of intellectuals, maybe like 99.9%, they hold uneducated people, ignorant people, blue-collar workers, and so on, in utter, unmitigated, virulent contempt, period. Consequently, they misjudge the masses. They think that the masses are incapable of coming up with an alternative system. But the truth is that the masses present an alternative. It's a different civilization, admittedly, with different core value systems. It's all true. What the masses call civilization would not be recognizable to most intellectuals. And what the masses call values would be hotly contested by intellectuals. It's all very true. But these are values. And it is a civilization. Whether it's inferior or superior, that's not something that can be determined objectively and neutrally. It's not a scientific question. It's a political question, if anything, or philosophical maybe. But be that as it may, the rejection of the elites by the masses and the rejection of the masses, the betrayal of the masses by the elites, set the ground for the emergence of an alternative civilization at the core of which there's a different value system. We are right now embedded, we are right now experiencing in the throes of a culture war, and it's a global culture war. And so this culture war presents different axiological and doxastic systemology. In other words, different beliefs and different values. Let's review a few of them. Whereas the elites are promoting the rule of law, the masses believe that the law is rigged and weaponized, that it's a tool of social control. Therefore, the masses consider crime to be forgivable, kind of foible or mistake, especially when the crime is offset against other qualities and behaviors which the masses deem superior or benevolent or great or commendable. So crime always is the act, the criminal act is always part of, and the criminal intention, mens rea and the actus reus, always a part of some calculus, larger calculus, where the crime is forgivable, absolution is granted, and the person is redeemed if he contributes to the greater good in some other way. This is not the rule of law, of course. This is relative morality in many ways. But this is how the masses view things. So if Donald Trump is accused of being on the Epstein list, his supporters, the base, the masses, don't see this as a problem. It's a minus, it's a deficiency, it's a lack, it's a defect. But by and large, it's compensated for by the alleged imputed positive traits and behaviors of Donald Trump. That's one example, of course. The same goes for Erdogan and Netanyahu and all other populist leaders. Number two, whereas the elites regard corruption and nepotism as irredeemable and unforgivable, utterly criminal and expungible, the masses consider corruption and nepotism okay if they're invisible. The masses presume that the elites are also corrupt, that they're also nepotistic, which they are, by the way. And so they regard the whole thing as hypocrisy. And say, as long as you don't rub it in my face, as long as you don't make it visible, I accept the corruption and nepotism. It's okay. It's part of life. It's even human. It's human to be corrupt. It's inhuman or dehumanizing to demand that people become angels. These standards that were set originally during the Enlightenment, these standards that intellectuals adopt, their sole intention is to set up people for failure and thereby justifying the disdain of the elites towards the masses. The elites impose standards that the masses can never meet. The masses fail, and then the elites say, you see, we told you so. They are contemptible. The masses are contemptible. Okay. Next, hard work. Hard work is promoted and propagated by the elites. Always has been. There are serious questions here about the collusion between the elites and the capitalist class. Rich people. Elites are bribed. Rich people bribe the elites in a variety of ways. And so the promotion of hard work and work ethic, they play well into the hands of billionaires and so on and so forth, and the elites are happy to collaborate and to spread the word. But the masses regard hard work as a form of slavery, attenuated slavery, mind you, but slavery all the same. So hard work is not a value to aspire to. Hard work is for fools, and hard work is something that should be best avoided if at all possible. Shortcuts to fame and riches are much preferable, and that's another example of the clash between the elites and the masses, which the elites consider to be tools and stupid people. Next is due process. Due process is much heralded and much supported, much buttressed by the elites. It is supposed to be the only defense against the egregious, arbitrary exploitation of power. It's an integral part of every set of human rights and civil rights and so on and so forth. But the masses don't see it this way. Exactly like the rule of law, they think due process is weaponized and illegally, if not immorally. And so the masses, as they see it, due process should be confined to the members of the in-group, members of the cult. Everyone outside the in-group is in the out-group. Everyone outside the in-group is an enemy, and one should never grant any rights to the enemy. One should vanquish the enemy. One should eliminate, exterminate, and destroy the enemy. All rights reside within the cult and emanate from it, from the structure of the cult. It is the cult that legitimizes human rights and civil rights, and due process should be an integral part of cult membership, the benefits of cult membership. Don't get me started on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The masses perceive this not as a way to equalize the rights of people or access to opportunities, but as a form of oppression. They perceive woke movements and victimhood movements as compromised by narcissists and psychopaths, which on this they're completely right, and they perceive them as tyrannical, ideological tyranny of the left. So DEI is perceived as oppressive, not as liberating. Next is the commitment to factual truth, to facts and truth, investigated and explored and discovered via the scientific method. This is the creed and the gospel of the ruling elites, especially the intellectual elites, but not only. Whereas the masses reject this. This is malignant egalitarianism. My opinion is as good as your truth. My ignorance has equal status to your erudition and learning. And truth is something malleable and relative, and facts are fungible, and my facts are as good as your facts, and so on and so forth. So this relativization of the truth, this post-truth society, this truthism, if you wish, and so on, this is typical of the masses, because the masses are denied education. They know very little. They're ignorant and nescient. And this, they feel humiliated and feel ashamed of themselves because they are like that. The defense is narcissistic. I may not know physics, but I know astrology. I may not know biochemistry, but I'm great in football. And my opinions are as valuable, and my opinions are as influential as your 5 years in college. So this is the masses' way to restore some semblance of balance, knowing they feel inferior and they pretend to be superior. And that's a classic narcissistic defense. And this is where masses are highly narcissistic. So expertise, intellect, and learning, all cherished and valued and revered and worshipped by the elites, are rejected as suspect, as Machiavellian brainwashing by the masses. They hate experts. They abhor and deplore intellectuals. They find learning obnoxious. And this anti-intellectual streak in the mob underlies all populist movements. They mock and ridicule scientists and experts and medical doctors, and you have it. And sometimes they become very aggressive in this rejection when they believe that these experts are abusing their advantage in some way. Ethical values are therefore luxuries. I'm reminded of a famous scene in The Fair Lady, where the father of the woman comes to Professor Higgins and he tells him that he wants money. And Professor Higgins says, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Do you have no dignity, sir?" And the father says, "I'm too poor. Dignity is a luxury." So ethical values are great when you are rich and affluent and you have the leisure and the pleasure of considering them and applying them, but they're not for the masses. The masses reject ethics. They reject morality. Forget religion for a minute. In practice, the masses are amoral. They're not immoral, they're not criminal, most of them, but they're definitely amoral. And they're not unethical, they simply have no ethics. They get by. They have to survive somehow. Survival often calls for ethical compromises, which the elites never have to confront. The elites usually, when the elites deal with ethical dilemmas, it has to do something with some kind of straw man or some kind of straw argument or whatever. And so patriotism, in the eyes of the masses, is not an ethical standard. It's exclusionary. It's xenophobic. It's aggressive or even violent. It's about pushing people away, not about embracing them. Patriotism, nationalism actually, is about isolating yourself hermetically, fending off the outside world, which is perceived as hostile or at the very least exploitative and abusive, and creating self-containment and self-sufficiency within the cult, within the in-group. So it's exclusionary and xenophobic. And religion is an ideal. It's something to aspire to, maybe, at least, perfunctorily and peremptorily, to say that you aspire to, but it is not prescriptive. It's not a prescription. Religion doesn't tell you how to behave and what to do, what to believe in, what to think, and how to conduct and comport yourself. No way. This is lip service. In reality, the masses are highly pragmatic, highly opportunistic, and highly exploitative of situations. They leverage every scrap of advantage they come across, normally, because they have to survive. This is the picture of populist movements and populist cults. And now to two additional segments, and I wish you a cultish day.